with intention and availability.
No expectations.
Get ready to unleash
With Kelly
and Bree. Bare soul knowing. Welcome back to another episode of our creative project. I'm Bree.
and I'm Kelly.
And here we are after a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
This episode is just going to be the two of us. A lot has come up for us since we started this project back in February, and we kind of wanted to talk about it. It's been incredibly expansive, really difficult, and just so interesting to create something as two people who live in our heads a lot, that has no rules, and we put it out there as there are no rules and there are no boundaries and all of that, and yet both of us found ourselves stressing about breaking the rules that didn't exist, that we created. Just like sitting in the anxiety of what we felt some of those times right now. And it feels gross.
Yeah. We totally wanted to debrief publicly about what this process has been. And I think we recorded our first one February. And we're now sitting here and it's November. So it's almost been a year. But we haven't recorded in
Math.
4
or 5 months.
4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, I literally, even since the last time we recorded, so episode 5, I feel like I've shed some things, and that I'm literally sitting on this couch thinking back to our very first episode as a different person. Mm-hmm. And that's an experience that COVID expedited for a lot of people, I think, especially artists kind of coming back into their craft more and more right now, and to just kind of like expose the transition that UnLeash allowed us to have also simultaneously with all of the other things, and the total hilarity of like in a moment where we can't have any kind of construct or anything constricting us in this like artistic endeavor. We were so hungry for structure.
Oh my God.
Because we already didn't have any.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic gave us all this time and space.
It was, we were so strategic. We're going to record 3 episodes so that we have enough backed up so that we can release one every week and this and that. And then, scheduling challenges happen, then tech issues happen, and this and that. And we're like, ah! I remember, I think it was Errol's episode. So our second episode, we were releasing when I was back home in Calgary. And I was staying at my dad's, and he lives out in the country. And the internet was so slow that it took 12 hours to upload and then still never finished. So our release day, we had everything planned. It was all good. Our Instagram schedule was laid out perfectly. And I was like, God. I abandoned all of my family. I was like, guys, I have to upload this episode. It has to go up today. Wednesdays are our days. We have to do it. We have to do it. And I just every 10 minutes refreshing the computer so that it wouldn't stop the upload out in the boonies. It was just, and I was panicking.
Right.
And I think it was you. You're like, we don't. Who decided that we have to release every single Wednesday? I was like, but we said we're going to. We have to. And it's just and it was amazing when we gave ourselves that permission to just be like, okay, I don't know. Are there millions of people sitting around waiting for this release? No.
Our 22 subscribers are really upset.
What? But it did, and that kind of opened the door to this idea that this project is for us. And if this project creates extreme amounts of stress, is that just not putting us back into that same position that we were all in pre-COVID?
Totally.
And then so we're sitting here in November recording our 7th episode. So this big thing that we were planning, and we had a long list of guests that we wanted to bring on.
We have so much time. We're going to be able to just dump all of ourselves into this.
And then life happened and the world started opening up and we both started working. I think between throughout the entire summer, I saw you once for your birthday dinner.
Yeah.
And then you and I got together for coffee twice. So in like a 3-month period, we saw each other just to like say hi and hug 3 times. Yeah. Because I was traveling and you were working and then I was working and our schedules just never. So we're like, oh my God, and UnLeash, it's just dying.
Is it even worth it?
Is it
What
worth it? What are we doing? Well, we're busy now. This was supposed to just like be something to keep us busy in the midst of nothing and to feel like we're creating. And I definitely came up against this idea of like, well, does it even matter? What's the point?
Yep.
Okay, maybe it served its purpose. We did 6 episodes.
Just to prove to ourselves that we could follow through. Cool. Lock the door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, and you've reminded me of this a lot, you've had a lot of friends and colleagues and come up to you and be like, oh my God, I just watched, even now, like I just finished watching the episodes. So great. Like this really resonated and blah, blah. And it's like those moments that, for me anyway, have been like, oh yeah, there is a reason that we're doing this that's just outside of our own kind of selfish need to explore, express, create. And again, even if it only ends up being, like we said at the very beginning, like 1, 2, 3 people, there's still an energy exchange. It's reciprocal. It feels good for us. It feels good for others. So
yeah, and it's interesting. Like what's coming up for me right now as you're talking about all of this is like we actually ended up exactly where we intended. So like in our first episode saying there is no trajectory for this. Right. There are no goals. The intent is to connect, to relate, to create. Check, check, check. Mm-hmm. And we were like, if we do a couple episodes and that's fine. But then it's funny because what's underneath that was this like subconscious ego need for like it to be a huge success and us to stay on schedule and it to blow up and it to that we weren't being maybe totally honest with ourselves about, that we were like wanting and needing in the validation and for it to feel a certain way or go a certain way and have this schedule. And actually it is exactly what we saw out. And we are letting it flow. And if that means 4 months off and then here we are and what felt good was another solo episode, it's great. And we just kind of keep going. And it is really interesting. Like, it's like these little pings from the universe, these little high fives from the universe pop up every time one of us is kind of feeling a doubt about this. I'll get a text message from someone. And like the demographic has been like older people, younger people, teens. Like I'll just get one message, one reminder that's like, I really liked that specific episode, or I saw that thing. It's really cool that you're doing this. And I'm like, not necessarily that we needed the validation, but just to feel that it landed for other people as well as us, even if we're just like literally giving ourselves and others permission to keep talking about these things and keep sharing and like using social media in a really positive way is like, oh, right, we can keep going. Like we don't need to be the next Oscar-winning production. Like, what? Did you get the Emmy nomination in the mail? So it's really cool. Like, as much as we were like, the rules we had, we ended up needing to break.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Right away.
We can't release episodes every 2 weeks. We can't da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then the ones we didn't have, we were kind of hungry for structure. And being like, oh, maybe we do need to talk about this more. Maybe we do need a checklist so we don't forget to press record. Like, funny things like that. And it's like the ebb and flow of this process just, again, like mirrors the ebb and flow of what we've learned in our personal lives, too. Like, not shocked at all.
No, and it is, like, thinking, like you said at the beginning, thinking about where we were 8-9 months ago. Versus where we were physically in the exact same space. And yet... So different.
Yeah.
I was driving here today, and like the sun's out. My top is. I was about to say my top is down. My top is not down. I'm not in a convertible, but like my sunroof was lifted, and like the tunes are blaring. The tunes are blaring too. Oh my god! Yeah. And I was just like, I feel really good. And it was so interesting because my brain went, well, why? You're just driving on the highway to go see your friend to film something. Like, it almost wanted to rationalize me out of feeling good for no reason.
Ooh.
And that's an interesting thing that has popped up because I think for the last year and a half, I've had to manufacture feeling good so much that it was almost the opposite. It's like, you have no reason to feel good. I'm like, no, I feel good. I swear. I got this. And really holding on to those moments and grasping those moments. Whereas, like, there's something about where you and I both are in our journeys. And it's just like, sometimes it's okay to just feel good because you feel a ray of sun on your face. Or sometimes you don't even have to know why. It's like, it's okay to just feel good and just sit with that and be with it and not have to analyze it, not try to capture it, not try to recreate it.
Yeah, there's a funny, like, aversion that's built into our programming. Whether it's, like, the fear of how fleeting that's going to be.
Yes.
Yeah. And that we know it's transient. So, like, oh, I can't feel happy. I can't, like, fully step into my aliveness or my joy because adjacent to that is melancholy. Or, like, coming right after is sadness and grief. And that's a very real part of the human experience. But I think both of us are feeling this, like, a very unknown light energetic right now, considering, I mean, we've had a lot of sun this past week specifically, which is very helpful for us. But in a season of, like, death and cocooning and shedding, like, there's a vibration that I feel, like, even on this couch right now, that, like, we're both kind of, like, floaty, airy energy that, like, I'm not afraid to feel good. And, like, we've done episodes, and I think specifically with David, when we talked about rest, pleasure, play, things like this, a shame around, like, fully embracing having a good day because you don't deserve it, or, like, other people are suffering and struggling. And that was such a, like, caveat of COVID. It was like, okay, but the world is in grief. The world is in suffering, so, like, how dare you? Yeah. And I wonder if there's, like, a funny thing of, like, oh, but it's the season of the darkness is coming. Like, it's literally getting dark at 4 p.m. Like, we're like, how dare you wake up and feel light and happy and soft? It's like, maybe that actually just has to do with the internal landscape that we've now cultivated.
Yeah. And holding on to old stories of, like, the winter is darkness for me. Literally, internally. Like, it's such a hard period. But that's been the story up until now. Who's to say that has to be the story moving forward? And maybe we're also getting better at letting go of stories. And just taking, like, you wake up, you feel good. That doesn't have to be a story about it. That just is what it is. Or you wake up and you feel bad. Again, just what it is. There doesn't have to be a story attached.
It's so true. I feel like even with UnLeash, like, between episodes 1 to now, the holding on to fears or holding on to doubts, that process happens faster for me now.
Yeah.
In, like, with the episodes we make or the mistakes I think we're making or the doubts I have, like, and in my personal life and my career and everything, the process is just so much faster. The shedding is just like, and that doesn't belong to me anymore, or, and I'm feeling that, and I'm honoring it, and then I'm moving through it. I think we literally had this conversation last time we had coffee. I was like, I'm so impressed, actually, of my own ability to, it's not even alchemy because I'm not changing, I'm just like literally letting go of the story or the thing that we hold on to, maybe to busy our minds or distract ourselves or who knows what it is, but I just feel like that process is so much faster for me these days.
And I don't know what it is. And, like, even that, like, why do I have to know what it is?
Yeah. No, we don't.
But we want to, obviously.
Yeah, we want, because we're obsessed with this stuff. That's why we have this show. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier.
So many thoughts. It's also, and I think we did briefly talk about this before we started filming, but this, like, full acceptance of who we are and what we need, what this season is. And I know in the past, like, this is the season of cocooning and cozy and hot chocolates and reading by fires and all of that. But for me, not productive, not allowed, only on special occasions. And I would try to operate at summer levels in the winter. And it just, we are part of nature. We have seasons as well. And this is the season to go inward and kind of die and get dark and get quiet and have 10-hour sleeps every night and all of that. And that isn't possible for everyone, but for us as creatives, a lot of the times are like, this is a season that starts to get fairly quiet. So you can prioritize that. And I find this year for the first time, I'm not fighting that. Like, I fell asleep on the couch the other night at 9 p.m. I was too tired to watch TV or read a book. So I just like had my hand on my dog's leg, put some meditation music on, and just lay down to meditate. And then next thing you know, like, I'm jerking awake at 9 p.m. It's like, okay, my body's saying it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Like,
Honor.
previous me, 9, are you kidding? I was like, no, I cannot do that. That makes me old. That makes me boring. That makes me that. All of these stories about what that means. And this year, thus far, I found that I'm just, like, this is who I am and this is what I need right now. And that releases any of that fight or that disconnect or the body to mind that doesn't quite match. We get cut off at the neck, as we talk about all the time.
Like the tension and the turbulence and like that judgment, rather than like, oh, what a gift that I can honor what my body is asking for right now, what the season is asking for right now. And again, it is an absolute privilege for us to potentially have that choice on certain nights, on certain days. But listening to that, sinking into that, just allows us like show up bigger and better in the next moments. And even with like to talk about those seasonal shifts, and that like societally, like there's no allowance for change. So we talk about absolutes all the time, like getting married to things. We wonder why there was a part of us that wanted to have this strictness about UnLeash, and that it can't change, and that it's like, well, because even when there's seasonal shifts and Mother Nature is trying to teach us about our own bodies and the rhythms of things and the cycles of things, like, that's going to show up everywhere. That if we ignore it in one place, we ignore it in another. You know, the way you do one thing. And so even in the learning of like this creative little project, that it's gonna have seasons too.
And allowing that to be okay.
Yeah,
that was huge for us.
Totally.
And it was, I can't remember if I've talked to you about this yet, but it was the our last episode that we were, I think we teased it on Instagram. We were going to release it in July or something like that. And then we just got so busy and we couldn't, and all of that. And I've been personally really proud that we each have our skill sets in this project. And in the past, I've always tried to do it all, but recognizing like, this is what you're really fantastic at. This is what I'm really fantastic at. And together we make it work, and we can do the things that we're good at and that feel good to each of us. And there was a moment where I was getting ready to take on like kind of one of your responsibilities when it came to the Anissa. And I was like, I'll just do this and blah, blah, blah.
Because I was getting busy.
You were so busy, and it wasn't going to happen because you were just too busy. So I was like, well, we need to get this out, so I'm just going to suck it up and I'm going to do it and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, it was like writing the show notes. It was just writing the show notes, listening to the episode and writing the show notes. And that's what you do. And you're freaking great at it. And I had so much resistance. I was like, oh God. And I was like, oh yeah, because this isn't something that I'm good at. And this isn't what I do. And
it doesn't light me up about this. So
is the world going to explode if this episode gets released a few weeks from now when Kelly has the time to do that? And it felt like it would for a bit. But then it's like, no, it's okay.
It's the perfectionist. It's the like how hard we are on ourselves, and again, it's like to have a standard and like a healthy expectation for ourselves is really good. It's what helps us be so successful at what we do and self-driven. And then sometimes it can turn into the devil on your shoulder. That's also like pointing the finger and being the critic and all of these things, and why can't you just, and you should, and you can take that on. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, no, actually, I'm hearing in my own body and in my own experience right now that it is a big deal. It doesn't feel good. It feels really heavy, not nice. And I can just maybe change the story, or like ask for help, or have this conversation. And so, that like this process has been really conducive to helping us both with communication skills, honesty, asking each other for opinions, for help mirroring. Like there's been so many other beautiful things that have come from it.
Yeah. And it's cool, thinking back to specific episodes, there have been times where very rarely do we end filming an episode and both of us feel the same about it. So there's been ones where you've been like, oh, that was really hard for me and this and that. And then ones where I've been like, oh God, I just really didn't like. And it's been so fascinating, the things that have popped up. You see the episode, obviously what we film, like we're honest, we're in it, we're uncomfortable. But after we stop recording, we get to sit in it and actually talk through it and dissect, well, why did that feel? And blah, blah, blah. And we have learned a lot after the fact also of us dissecting what came at us, what we put out, why we did certain things that we did, why each of us is so hung up on, you know, an angle or the way we, or what. So it was really expansive, in ways that we didn't think it was going to be.
Oh, totally. Like we knew it was risky and vulnerable to speak to our personal experiences, our processes, and also from a more egotistical point of view that like as artists and performers, like of course you're going to come up against your own aesthetic judgments of yourself, but like that was part of the risk and that was part of the growth that we wanted. And for me personally, it was about talking more, opening, and I honestly can say that my throat chakra, that like my ability to express and speak in groups and crowds and like has gotten better because of this. Truly has. And I'm less afraid of silence. I'm less afraid of awkwardness. Like it's really, slight digression, but it's really something that I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
But it's so true in the watch back. Like it's obviously not something we get to do when we have a conversation or an experience. You often have the rumination period because you can replay, rethink in your mind.
Yes.
But then we actually get that tangible playback.
Yeah.
So like I can remember an episode where I felt super physically triggered, like some emotion, some energy moved through me, and then it was having a hard time afterwards, even days afterwards. With Bree was helping me through that, and then watching it back.
Yeah.
Once there was time and space, I was like, oh, one, that doesn't look like anything. Yeah. No one would ever know that was my experience.
Yeah.
When it felt so big to me.
Yeah.
And so highlighted. And two, it also completely makes sense why that may have felt sensitive. And three, like, it doesn't matter. And like owning that kind of like shadowy or sitting with that discomfort and being witnessed like by a friend in the conversation and then exposing it to the world, like it totally loses its charge. Totally. And you just are, I really found the truth in that idea that like there are so many multiple realities happening, and the perception we have on our eternal world versus how we're being perceived. Like it is just that constant lesson of you never know what someone else's experience is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And even how you perceive your own experience once it's played back again.
That's the craziest thing. Yeah, like you for sure, you were like, oh my God, that's gonna, I don't know if I can watch that. And I was like,
I was like, I don't think I can watch that episode.
It was
back.
fine. Like, I can understand why maybe you, but I'm like, no, you're good. And then, yeah, and then when you did watch back, you're like, oh, yeah.
Everyone's gonna be like, what episode is this?
I know.
I'm not telling you. You'll never know.
But it, like you said, it's incredible to see and witness. Like everything, of course, everything I'm thinking and feeling is so important to me and feels so big and so intense.
You personalize it all.
Oh my God. But like that kind of stops here. And like you have your own, and the people we're talking to have their own, the people who are listening have their own.
Right, like everyone's projecting their own version of their own experiences.
And it like if it feels like 100 internally, it like usually will read as a 20 externally.
Oh, yes. Yep. And then get based on like how I was feeling that day versus how I was feeling 2 weeks later.
Yes.
You know, when you look at a photo on a day where you're already kind of like, maybe you're feeling victim-y, or maybe something has happened to you and you're activated and you're just like super deprecating and judgmental, and then you look at it the next day and be like, what was I talking about?
Yeah.
I'm a freaking supermodel. Like, what's wrong?
Totally.
It's always what you bring to it.
Yeah. And where you are in that exact moment based upon your drive that morning, a phone call with somebody, you slept on the wrong side of the bed, like so many things affect.
And I think it also was like, for me personally, and we've talked about both of us, our perfectionist qualities. It's been like really corrective for me to maybe feel like the episode wasn't perfect, or you didn't use the right word, or you tripped up a bit, maybe. You know, did I give the guest enough space?
Yeah.
Did I overshadow Bree in that episode?
Right.
Did I, like, all those things? It's like, well, nobody's perfect. And, of course, we're not going to be perfect. And that's part of this exercise. And, like, showing that more in this way, I actually can't think of a better way than to practice, like, daring greatly, Brene Brown. Like, you know.
Like, I mean, we haven't talked about this yet, but like episode 1, when like I learned for the first time that my camera only records 30 minutes at a time, but we kept doing this, thinking that we were just talking away and stuff. And it's like, oh, cool. And we had that moment where like we could re-record. It's like, no, it's like we put this out there, and the last 7 minutes of it are beautiful floating dye in water with our audio over it. And it's just like, for really, truly, for the two of us who are so like this. The amount of technical issues we had and things that we had to, like, mics that weren't proper, and the other one, the next one we didn't record with our microphone, like, so many things.
To negotiate some things.
We had to negotiate a few things. But the ability to just go, okay, cool.
And that's what it was. And it's okay. Yeah.
And we can laugh about it, so hopefully whoever's watching and listening can also laugh about it too, and if they can't, that's okay. But it's, again, so expansive for us to put out these things that are like perfectly polished.
Yeah, and actually, I'm so proud to say that we did not edit out a single thing from a single episode. And in the episode we were talking about, where I was like, oh, I don't know, like maybe there should be some editing on that episode because my own insecurities were coming up, my own shadows were coming up, and we didn't.
No.
And in retrospect, like, we really didn't need to.
No.
It's so interesting. And then it's also the feeling of like, it's not that big a deal. Like, it's like, it's as you say, like, feels macro to us, and other people are just kind of like watching and then taking what they can and forgetting about it and walking away.
Yeah, totally.
And we're like, my hair looked so flat, I'll never book another job.
Oh my god.
So I wonder, like, maybe we just, I don't know, like, your biggest takeaway, or like a word that comes to you, like, sitting on the couch now after this, and as we, like, endeavor.
Oh my god.
I'm totally putting you on the spot right now, but I'm going
to
think about it for myself too.
Oh, so you go me first and then you think about it.
Maybe I'll go first.
No, that's okay. This is the beautiful thing. Now I can be honest about it. It's like, I now have a 30-minute timer on my phone.
That's
so
right.
that
She's like, I'm not.
I'm like, I'm just checking messages.
Yeah.
So,
or how we want to move forward.
Yeah.
A new thought. Like, we can just riff off of this.
We can. I actually just have to stop the camera though,
okay.
to like to start it up again.
And then we'll wrap it up.
1 second. Okay, so what did you say? One word or one takeaway?
Yeah, one word or one takeaway that will maybe inform how we move forward. I mean, it will automatically inform how we move forward.
Oh, I'm so bad at actually saying like one word, but it would listening and honoring, I think.
It feels good.
I was gonna say
little goosebumps.
I was gonna say no rules, but the bigger thing about the no rules is just like listening and honoring where we are, what we have, what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and trusting.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I had a therapy session recently where my therapist said, "Do you trust this process?" And that can be in anything. I just want to like, and I think finally, episode 7, here we are. Like, we just sit on this couch. We don't prep.
Yeah.
things go wrong, things go right, you feel insecure. Do you trust this process? Mm-hmm. Do you trust that we are being asked into the things we need to look at and invited into a higher space, and by listening, honoring, and trusting, and maybe we invite everyone that's watching to move into this next season, especially as the winter's coming, of just listening, honoring, trusting.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know I said it, but you wrapped it up in a really nice way.
This is how we go. This is how we do. This is the team.
Do you have a word or?
I mean, I think I would just kind of tag into you and add the trust piece like that we launched into this with an intention of no restrictions and not knowing, and then we had a bit of trepidation of believing that we could do it without being strict, right, or without those constraints. And we just kept trusting, and all of a sudden we got those little breadcrumbs of feedback, and the like, oh wait, we can do this our own way. Oh wait, we can take a pause for 4 months. Yeah. And come back, and it's fine. Yeah. So I think because we listen, honor, trust even more now, this now just has even more potential. Yeah.
And it just, like, at the end of the day, feels good. Yeah. When we don't put those crazy restraints on restrictions on what it can and can't be. It's just like, we do this because we love it, and it's fun, and it feels good, and it's creative, and we're not going to be able to just snap our fingers and all that other stuff goes away. We still battle with it, but it like you said, like, it comes and you can kind of just, like,
there it is,
brush it off a little bit quicker and easier.
Yeah. And like, hey, what are you here to teach me? What is this? What part of me is this? And thank you so much. And I think that's automatically, like, going to be infused in our creative processes and our careers, and it's very clear in all of my personal relationships also. So we'll keep going, and we're super grateful that you're here on this journey with us, and excited for, maybe we'll call it like our next season.
Oh, okay.
Our next season of Unleash.
Season 2 of Unleash.
Yes.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool. We're a mini-series, six episodes per season.
See, and this is, like, literally, okay, not a rule.
No, yeah. Not a rule.
But something that has now revealed itself as, like, oh, that is a manageable goal, or, like, nice container to float around in.
Yeah, and that container can change, too. But
we're a mini-series.
Oh. Fired.
Fired. Okay, great.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to our next one. We have a couple of, well, we don't have them officially lined up yet, but a couple of people on our radar for some interesting episodes. So,
yeah, we're excited, and excited to see what else pops up.
Yeah,
for us and for you, and keep writing us. Like, if you have something you're curious about, actually, that you'd want us to unleash about, then that could be helpful also. Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, happy cocooning.
Happy cocooning. Wave. Why was there a wave today? Well, it's going to stay in with this. That'll be the blooper.
I don't know. I think it's in.
Yes.